Hello everyone, today is Wednesday 27th of September and this is the cluster API office hour meeting. A few reminders before starting with our agenda. So in this meeting we abide to the CNCF code of conduct, and so please be kind with each other. If you want to speak, please use the raise hand feature in Zoom. And if you have topic in agenda, please feel free to add them in your agenda. And also, if possible, please add your name to the attendee list so we can keep track of everyone joins this meeting. So without further ado, let's move on with our agenda. First of all, at the beginning of every meeting, we would like to welcome new attendees. So I will shut up for a few seconds. Feel free to raise your hand, introduce yourself, and explain why you are here, why you're interested in Class API. I give you a few minutes to jump in.
I'm going to start, Fabrizio. Hi, everyone. This is Adriano Pezzuto from Classics. We develop an open source project for hosted control plane in Kubernetes. We are integrating the project with the cluster API, so we started to get interest into cluster API project. Thank you.
Thank you, Adriano. And if folks are interested, some time ago there was a nice presentation from Adriano and Dario in the SIG Cluster Lifecycle office hour. If you're interested, take a look. It is a really interesting process. Thank you, Adriano. Is there someone else that wants to introduce themselves? Okay, dokie. Let's keep moving with our agenda. Next up is open proposal readout. As far as I remember, we have only one open proposal out. I'm not aware of any updates. Jake, are you in the meeting? Okay, let's assume.
Sorry, I was foiled by a full screen. Yes, I'm here. No updates. Thank you so much, Fabrizio.
Thank you, Jay. So we can move to discussion topic. First up is Christian with a demo. I guess you want to share, so I have to make you co-host.
Yep, exactly.
Give me a sec. Christian, make co-host. You should, and I stop sharing.
Let me put up the share. And hopefully I get the right window. Yeah, should be it. Yeah. Hey, before I start, this is a demo basically coming from work we already did some time ago for CAPI, but now we're trying to automate the things to make it more approachable for everyone. So what this is about is we want to generate configuration for kube state metrics from our Go code, from our API types, to get a configuration so we can expose metrics using kube state metrics for our CRDs. You can think of it for something like a use case, which would be get the created timestamps of an object like an vSphere virtual machine, and as addition, get the timestamp of a condition like VM provisioned. And by using that two metrics, you would, for example, be able to measure the time, how long did the machine, vSphere machine, take from getting created until it was actually provisioned, and try to help on performance or scaling topics or something else. So how is this done? It's basically 4 steps. We first add markers to our API package. Then we can generate a configuration file by using the kubestate metrics binary and the subcommand generate. And then we deploy it to kubestate metrics or to our cluster in Tilt, for example. And we can consume the metrics, not logs, using Prometheus then. So I will start and do a small example on the vSphere VM object. So basically, this is the top level struct we have for the vSphere VM API in cluster API provider vSphere. And to instrument that API, I first start with adding a marker, which is called GVK. This marker helps the generator later on to identify, okay, we want to get metrics configurations created for this API object. We also specify a name prefix, which is later visible in the name of the metrics. Then we set up some basic labels we want to have at every metric, which is name, namespace, and UID, which I think is common for every Kubernetes object and good to have there. And then we add another marker which initiates our first gauge metric. This metric will be called created and exposes the creation timestamp from metadata, which is at the end the Unix timestamp for that. For the full example, I will also add another metric at the conditions. So at status conditions, which is similar to what we have in core CAPI with machine conditions. I want to expose the last transition timestamp of all conditions. So this gauge metric will create a metric for each vSphere VM and each of its conditions in this array, and it will expose of course, the timestamp, the last transition timestamp, as well as the type and status of the condition. So we can use that now and just run, of course, first save it, and then just run kubestate metrics generate, simple or similar to what we do with controller gen to create the CRDs. Let's output that to a file. And open that here so we can take a look at it. So at the end, it creates this file, which is the configuration for kubestate metrics. It automatically detects the GVK from the API group. These are the common labels we added via markers. And down here, we have 2 metric definitions. One is for the created metric, and the other one is for the status condition timestamp. We can now deploy this to kubestate metrics. We have that also done already, or we do that already today in master CAPI, which is in config metrics. What we need is we need a cluster role to allow kubestate metrics to actually scrape the objects. In this case, this is the cluster role for the basic cluster API objects. And then we have the configuration file. This one is the one for CAPI, for core CAPI. And then what we use to deploy it is a customization, which imports the cluster role and imports the configuration YAML and adds the configuration YAML as config map. So what we get by the customization is the cluster role and the config map, which gets deployed to our observability namespace with some labels. So the kubestate metrics pod is able to automatically load the config map and attach the config to kubestate metrics. So if I open up a terminal, show terminal, what's that done? So if I open up a terminal here, what we have, or what I already have deployed is, I already have a cluster deployed here in the default namespace, which is vSphere cluster in this case, which is up and running. And I did use tilt to deploy that metrics. The core metrics of CAPI are automatically deployed, but if I want to add my configuration for CapV, for example, there's this new directive which is called additional customizations, and I can just point tilt to that additional customizations, and it will deploy that config map for us. So after configuring this and doing tilt up, it will show up in our cluster. And if I now switch to the screen share to the browser, and I will be finished then in some minutes. So at tilt, we see that customization here, which is called CapV metrics. It deployed a cluster role and the config map. And what we then can see at at Prometheus is we get created metrics for each VM, which is the creation timestamp of the VMs. We also get the status conditions for each VM and each type of condition, also with the last transition time as Unix timestamp. And we can use that, for example, to query the duration of the, of how long did the vSphere VM need to get, how much time it did need to get to the VM provision state. And we can see here, for example, it's around 82 seconds, or the average with this query would be, from namespace, would be 83 seconds. That's how you could, then query the data. We already used that data in some dashboards, which Stefan showed already in some cluster API meetings. These are the defaults CAPI dashboards we have. And I think here in cluster API performance, we can see how they are, for example, used. For example, this graph here shows it for the bootstrap ready condition of a control plane machine. And basically that's already it. If there are any questions, of course, I'm open to questions.
So first of all, thank you. It's super cool. I'm looking for the windows with the participant and the raised hand because I lost it.
Yeah.
But
one thing to add, there's example implementations already for CAPI and CapV, how this could get integrated into them. The pull request for kubestate metrics is still open for review. Happy to get feedback there if anybody tries it out. But yeah, basically the pull requests for CAPI and CapV are supposed to get opened up as soon as that kubestate metric feature is merged. And one more addition would be, this works for any CRD. This is not scoped to CAPI only, so maybe helpful for any kind of controller which is running somewhere.
great, really great. I like it. I would like to see all the CAPI provider to have metrics soon.
There was one question from Cecile actually in the chat, I see. If this could also get used to track API calls. For API calls, I don't think so, because that's specific to the controller, and the controller would have to expose that metric. Basically, the kubestate metrics point is any information which you get using kubectl get -o YAML is supposed to get exposed by kubestate metrics in that case. But what you get on top of doing the kubectl thing, you also get the historical data of things, when things changed, like when did the Boolean for the condition flipped to true, actually. So that's the point of metrics here.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, if I can add, we have some metrics about API calls. For instance, a runtime exception call in copy, but those are not generated and via Kubestat metrics. They are exposed by copy on top of what controller runtime offers. Cool. Is there some question on top of for the Christian's demo? I don't see question in chat nor hand raised. Thank you again, Christian, for pushing this work. And we can move to Alberto.
Hey, thank you, Fabrizio. Yeah, I just wanted to make an announcement that the few of us that are involved in the hosted control planes space, like Adriano, Dario, myself, we are planning to propose a panel on hosted control planes in the next KubeCon in Europe. So if anyone work on solutions with open source tooling for hosted control planes that integrate with Class-D API in any way, or just work on solutions with separation between control plane and data plane, like EKS, AKS, EKE, that kind of thing. Or if simply you are familiar with the space and are interested in participating in this, please feel free to reach out to us. I believe that at the minute, there is no more seats available to be speaker, but maybe in the future, there are more. So yeah, feel free to reach out to us if that sounds interesting. Thank you.
Great. Great. Thank you, Alberto. One question, is there an issue or discussion topic where people can contribute, or is going so we can make this a little bit more visible?
Not at the moment. I think that we can, Alberto proposed to write down a sort of a document highlighting the goals of the panel, and so stuff like this. I think that we can start working on it and share with the community so that everyone can contribute.
Looks great. So if you can, yeah, if you can somehow create a point where people can rally on to contribute, this will give visibility to your work and also make it accessible to people that are not here today.
Yeah.
But great to see this moving. Thank you, Alberto and Adriano.
Thank you.
Some question for Alberto, Adriano? Let's keep rolling. Mike, next one is on you.
Yeah, I just wanted to do a little follow-up on the Carpenter meeting we had a couple weeks ago. You know, we had a really great discussion there, and I think we had some follow-up kind of research and investigation we wanted to do. So I'm going to look into setting up a regular meeting for that. We'll probably shoot for 30 minutes, and I'm guessing every other week will probably be sufficient for now. We might even be able to go once every 3 weeks. What I really wanted to find out, I guess, is like, is anyone using the 30 minutes right before this meeting? And is it okay if we just keep using the same Zoom link, assuming we can find like a good time for this or something? Or should we create a new Zoom link or something? I don't know.
Hey.
Yeah, Jack.
I'm going to be super annoying and suggest that you open a feature group PR, which defines this, and then we can merge the PR, and then that would essentially act as consensus. How does that sound to other folks? I can help you with that, Mike. I did that.
Yeah, but that sounds like an amazing idea to me. Thank you, Jack. That's exactly what we need here. So I will not make an email. I will make an issue. And if I do make an email, I'll have it point to the issue.
Yeah, I would just say, you could skip the issue. Maybe an issue would be good for discussion. But you could just copy paste my original PR that I created that landed in there's a feature group directory somewhere in docs or community. Just copy paste that and create the appropriate replacement content with Carpenter.
Awesome. That is perfect. Yeah, if there's no other comments or anything, I will set about doing that before next meeting. Killian, I see you got your hand up.
Yeah, just on the usage of this link, I don't know if there'd be overlap in attendance, but the release team uses the link for this meeting for the 30 minutes directly before it, I think every week currently. So I think, yeah, I don't know, you might get away with there not being overlap in attendance, but you'd have to create a new link.
I'll try to find a different time then, just, so we can have the most available opportunity to participate with the release team,
I think the managed Kubernetes feature group coincided with the release team, and so we met at 9. So sorry, I'm being Pacific Coast biased there. We met an hour before this meeting, and then sort of handed the baton off at 30 past the hour to the release team. So that worked well for that crew. If that time works across all time zones that are interested in discussing Carpenter.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Jake.
Great, thank you, Mike. Yeah, +1 for me for having a feature group defined so everyone is aware of it and we can give a regular update and stuff like that. Next up, now what's about latest release of Capit?
Yep. Thanks, Fabrizio. Hey, everyone. We released Capi 1.4.7 and 1.5.2 yesterday. Thank you, all the contributors. I have put in the release notes linked into each of the versions. Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, I think that 1.4.7 is a regular bug fixes. And 1.5.2, yeah, introduced it basically backport this interesting feature about the naming strategy that allows you to control how names are generated for objects that the cluster class that are derived from a cluster class, and a good and some good bug fixing there. So thank you for the release team. Yesterday I had a chance to help them from the sideline, and I have to see that it is really nice to see them working. The release process is really smooth and the collaboration is really good. Great work. Okay, so looking at the agenda, we don't have any more points to add. So last call for topics to discuss today. Okay, it seems that this is all for today. Thank you everyone for attending. See you next week.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Fabrizio.
Fabrizio.
Thank you. Bye.